Good morning, students. My name is Meetu Epho and I am a science teacher. I hope you all are keeping good and healthy and also obeying the lockdown periods at home. मुझे पता है कि आप सभी इतने काफ़ी समय तक घर पे बैठे बैठे बोर हो रहे होंगे। साथ ही साथ आप स्टूडेंट्स हैं तो आपकी सबसे बड़ी नुकसान हो रही है आपकी पढ़ाई का। इसी बातों को ध्यान में रखते हुए हमने एक छोटी सी कोशिश की है कि आप घर पे बैठे रहे और हम आपको इस माध्यम से कुछ बातें किताबों से बताते जाएं। आज मैं आपको कक्षा 9वीं की एक पाठ के बारे में, पाठ से संबंधित कुछ बातें बताना चाहूँगी। वो है जीवों की मौलिक इकाई कोशिका। Today I am going to tell you something about science, something about life, something about cell from class 9th. The name of the chapter is Fundamental Unit of Life. Now, before going into the chapter, I would like to have a comparison, a discussion on a few things. पाठ में जाने से पहले मैं आपको कुछ कंपैरिजन बताना चाहूँगी, कुछ बातें बताना चाहूँगी। इमेजिन कीजिए कि यहाँ पर एक बिल्डिंग खड़ी है और इस ओर एक सजीव है। कोई भी एक जीव ले लीजिए, मान लीजिए एलिफेंट, हाथी। ओके, अभी आप इमेजिन कीजिए कि ये एक इतना बड़ा बिल्डिंग को निर्माण करने में ऐसी कौन सी चीज़ है जो सबसे इम्पॉर्टेंट रहा है। आप देख सकते हैं कि एक बिल्डिंग में क्या क्या होता है। एक बिल्डिंग में दीवारें होती है, कमरे होती है, बहुत सारे कमरे होती है, तो इतने सारे कमरे मिलकर एक बिल्डिंग का निर्माण करती है। दूसरी ओर एक सजीव, फॉर एग्जांपल एलिफेंट। एक एलिफेंट इतना बड़ा सा एलिफेंट है जिनका लिम्स होता है, सामने के 2 पैर होते हैं, पीछे के पैर होते हैं, आंख, नाक, कान, बड़ा सा शरीर, उसके शरीर के अंदर बहुत सारे अंग होते हैं। सो इतना बड़ा एलिफेंट का, इतने बड़े सजीव का, नॉट ओनली एलिफेंट, हम भी जो भी जीवित चीज़ें हैं उनको सजीव कहते हैं। एक सजीव का निर्माण करने में ऐसी कौन सा तत्व है, ऐसा कौन सा यूनिट है जो सबसे महत्वपूर्ण है, हम देखेंगे। मैंने आपको क्वेश्चन किया था कि एक बिल्डिंग का निर्माण करने में ऐसी कौन सी चीज़ है जो सबसे इम्पॉर्टेंट है। आप सोच रहे होंगे, कोई सोच रहे होंगे कि लोहा यानी स्टील, रॉड्स। कोई सोच रहा होगा कि सीमेंट, कुछ बच्चे सोच रहे होंगे कि पत्थर, कुछ सोच रहे होंगे बालू, कुछ सोच रहे होंगे ऑफ कोर्स ईंट। नाउ वैसे ही एक सजीव में भी बहुत सारे अंग होते हैं, है ना। अभी हम आते हैं इस बिल्डिंग की ओर। मैं बता दूं आपको, इतना बड़ा सा एक बिल्डिंग का निर्माण करने के लिए सबसे महत्वपूर्ण जो इकाई है वो है ईंट। एक छोटा सा ईटा यानी ब्रिक्स। हम देखते हैं जब बिल्डिंग का निर्माण होता है तो मेसन एक ईंट को जोड़ते हुए एक बड़ा सा दीवार बना देता है। क्या एक दीवार से बिल्डिंग पूरा हुआ? नहीं। एक दीवार से इवन एक कमरा भी पूरा नहीं हुआ। एक दीवार बनता है, उसके बाद 4 दीवार बनती है, तब जाके एक कमरा पूरा होता है। अब हम आते हैं इस सजीव की ओर। इस सजीव का शरीर का निर्माण करने के लिए सबसे महत्वपूर्ण बात है, सबसे महत्वपूर्ण जो छोटी सी यूनिट है वो है सेल यानी कोशिका। कोशिका एक बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है। जैसे हमने बहुत सारे ईंटों को जोड़ के एक दीवार बनाया था, वैसे ही एक कोशिका को रख के हम जो है कुछ ग्रुप्स, कुछ कोशिकाओं के समूह बनता है जिसे हम ऊतक कहते हैं। इन बातों को समझने के लिए आइए इस पर नजर डालते हैं। इमेजिन कीजिए कि ये ईंट है। एक ईंट जोड़ के हमने दीवार बनाया। एक दीवार बनी, उसके बाद में 4 दीवारें बनी, एक कमरा बन गया। उसके बाद में एक कमरा से बच्चों घर बनता नहीं है, बिल्डिंग पूरी नहीं होती है। हमारे घर में बहुत सारे कमरे होते हैं। फॉर एग्जाम्पल लिविंग रूम होती है, और बेडरूम होता है, किचन रूम होती है, देन टॉयलेट रूम होता है। तो बहुत सारे कमरे मिलके एक बिल्डिंग का निर्माण करता है। वैसे ही एक सजीव, मैंने बताया था कोशिका, एक कोशिका, बहुत सारी कोशिकाओं का समूह मिलके बनता है ऊतक, विच मीन्स द ग्रुप ऑफ सेल्स फॉर्म्स द टिश्यूज। इमेजिन कर सकते हैं आप, इसको ईंट के रूप में भी मान सकते हैं, इसको इंडिविजुअल कोशिका के रूप में भी मान सकते हैं। ये एक 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 जुड़े हुए हैं। नाउ अभी उत्तक बन गया, यानी एक दीवार बन गया, दीवार से कमरा पूरा नहीं हुआ, 4 दीवार बनी। यहाँ पर ग्रुप ऑफ सेल्स, कोशिकाओं के समूह ने एक उत्तक बनाया। उत्तक यानी अ पीस ऑफ टिश्यू, मान लीजिए एक मांस का टुकड़ा। क्या इस मांस के टुकड़े से एक अंग बना है? नो, नहीं। अब बहुत सारे उत्तक मिलके, बहुत सारी कोशिकाएं मिलके जुड़ के एक अंग बनता है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, मान लीजिए मेरे हाथ का निर्माण हुआ है। अब सिर्फ हाथों से तो शरीर का निर्माण नहीं हुआ, ये एक अंग है। उसके बाद मेरे पैर का निर्माण हुआ, ये भी एक अलग अंग है। इंटरनली मेरे शरीर के अंदर में भी बहुत सारे अंग है, यानी मेरे शरीर के अंदर हृदय है, मेरी लिवर होती है, मेरी किडनी होती है, मेरी स्टमक होती है, इंटेस्टाइन होती है, अन्य बहुत सारे अंग होती है। यानी इतने सारे अंग मिलके अंग तंत्र बनाता है। उसके बाद सारे अंग तंत्र मिलके एक सजीव का निर्माण करता है। जैसे मैंने बताया था, एलिफेंट के हाथ पैर, एलिफेंट के कान, हाथ इन द सेंस द 4 लिम्ब, एलिफेंट के आंख, नाक, उसके इंटरनल बॉडी स्ट्रक्चर्स सब कंप्लीट मिलने के बाद, बनने के बाद एक एलिफेंट बनता है। वह जैसे पूरे 3-4 कमरे मिलने के बाद में एक घर बनता है। यानी हम देख सकते हैं, सबसे पहला तो सेल है, कोशिका। उसके बाद ग्रुप्स ऑफ सेल को हम कहते हैं टिश्यूज। पहले कोशिका होती है यानी सेल होता है, उसके बाद बहुत सारी कोशिकाएं, ग्रुप ऑफ सेल्स फॉर्म्स द टिश्यूज, यानी बहुत सारी कोशिकाएं मिलके उत्तक बनती है। उसके बाद बहुत सारी टिश्यूज, बहुत सारे उत्तक मिलकर एक ऑर्गन यानी एक अंग का निर्माण करता है। अब सिर्फ एक अंग से सजीव कंप्लीट नहीं होता है। अब बहुत सारे अंग, बहुत सारे ऑर्गन फॉर्म्स दी ऑर्गन सिस्टम, यानी बहुत सारे अंग मिलके अंग तंत्र का निर्माण करता है। फाइनली ये सारे अंग तंत्र मिलके एक इंडिविजुअल यानी एक सजीव का निर्माण करता है। तो बच्चों, हमने देखा कि एक पूरा सा सजीव को बनाने के लिए सबसे महत्वपूर्ण जो इकाई है, सबसे महत्वपूर्ण जो यूनिट है, वो है सेल। Group of cells forms the tissues. Group of tissues forms the organ. Groups of organ forms the organ system. Finally, all the organ system together they form the complete organism. मुझे उम्मीद है कि मैंने आपको जो कंपैरिजन बताया था, ईटा इज इक्विवेलेंट टू सेल, कोशिका, यानी the bricks are equivalent to cell. As a single brick is required for the manufacture of the big building, likewise a cell is responsible for the forming of a big individual. कोई भी इंडिविजुअल मान लीजिए, चाहे वो छोटी सी हो चाहे बड़े हो, सारे सजीवों के शरीर में कोशिकाएं होती है। यानी हम जो सजीव, हम जो जीवित लोग हैं, हम जो प्राणियां हैं, हम जो लिविंग ऑर्गेनिजम्स है, वी आर नथिंग बट अ क्लस्टर ऑफ अ ग्रुप्स ऑफ numerous millions and millions of cell, छोटी कोशिकाएं, छोटी numerous cells, ये सब ग्रुप होके हमारा शरीर का निर्माण करता है, एक सजीव का निर्माण करता है। नाउ मैं आपको बताना चाहूंगी, ये सेल मैंने बताया, ये कोशिका मैंने बताया, ये आखिर क्या है, इसकी कहानी क्या है, ये काम कैसे करता है। एक बार हुआ यूं, a scientist named Robert Hooke, when he was observing a bark of a plant under his microscope, he could see small numerous chambers. He could see small units. Maybe you can feel in this way. He could see small chambers, small units. छोटे कमरे जैसे चीजें उन्होंने देखा। Then he named it as a cell. रॉबर्ट हुक ने उस छोटी इकाइयों को कोशिका नाम दिया, which means Robert Hooke was the first scientist who discovered cell in the year of 1665. Now, students, depending upon the cells, number of cells, we can classify organisms into 2 groups. Number 1 is the unicellular organism and the second is the multicellular organism. Now, what is unicellular organism? As the name indicates, uni means one, which means the organism which is made up of only single cell, which means the single cell itself is the complete body of that particular organism. For example, amoeba, paramecium, bacteria. Next, the multicellular organism. As the name indicates, multi means numerous. An organism whose body is made up of numerous cells. ऐसे सजीव जिनके शरीर में बहुत सारी कोशिकाएं होती है. एक कोशिकीय जीव एंड बहुकोशिकीय जीव. एक कोशिकीय जीव जिनके शरीर में सिर्फ एक ही कोशिका होती है एंड बहुकोशिकीय जीव जिसके शरीर में बहुत सारी कोशिकाएं होती है, यानी बहुत सारी कोशिकाओं से मिलकर बना है. यानी हम लोग इंसान, हम लोग जो है बहुकोशिकीय जीव है. अब ये जो कोशिका है, एक सजीव बैक्टीरिया जैसे मैंने बताया या अमीबा जैसे मैंने बताया, उसके शरीर में सिर्फ एक ही कोशिका है और हमारे शरीर में करोड़ों कोशिकाएं हैं. लेकिन ये बैक्टीरिया एक कोशिका लेकर वो सारे काम कर सकते हैं, वो सारे जैव प्रक्रम कर सकते हैं जो हम बहुकोशिकीय मल्टीसेल्युलर ऑर्गेनिजम्स कम कर सकते हैं. वो एक कोशिका लेके जीवित है, हम करोड़ों कोशिका लेके जीवित है. यानी एक कोशिका, उसके भीतर जितने भी कोशिकांग है, single cell, it has so many cell organelles. Cell organelles is nothing but the parts of the cell, the internal parts of the cell. So a single cell with all its cell organelles can perform all the activities which a multicellular performs and exist. So we can say that cell is a basic unit of life. Now, as a human being, we shows the division of labor. Our body parts works with good coordination. Our stomach is responsible for digestion, our lungs is responsible for respiration, our kidney is responsible for the formation of urine. Likewise, all the organisms together, they perform various functions and helps the individual to survive. Likewise, a single cell organism also, all these cell organelles inside it, it performs various functions and help it to survive. Hence, we can say that yes, cell is the basic unit of life. Now, talking about the various cells in human body, we can see different cells in human body. Number 1, this is the muscle cell in human body. You will study about it in the other chapter also. This is the muscle cell. This is the blood cell in human body. This is the nerve cell. Students, remember, the only cell which has a branch structure is the nerve cell. This is the sperm cell. You have already studied it in reproduction chapter. This is the ovum cell. This is the fat cell and this is the bone cell. Okay, so these are the various types of cell present in the human body. Students, if we look under a microscope, we will find 3 important features which is common in all the cell. Number 1 is the plasma membrane. Number 2 is the nucleus. Number 3 is the cytoplasm. I said that if we observe under a microscope, there are 3 features which is common in all the cell, that is the plasma membrane, the nucleus and the cytoplasm. Students, you have a diagram of plant cell and animal cell in your textbook in this lesson, but it's a bit complicated. Just to simplify that, I have brought a figure of plant cell and animal cell. Sorry, I don't have chart at home. This is a lockdown period, so I manage it anyhow for you. Just try to say this and try to understand this. This is a very simple diagram, simple figure of the animal cell and plant cell. If possible, you please take out your notebook and pencil and try to draw this. I'll be holding this for you till the end of the session. So, I said there are 3 features which is common in every cell. Number 1 is the plasma membrane. Look students, this is the plasma membrane, the outer one. This is the plasma membrane. This is common in every cell. Number 2, I was talking about the nucleus. This is the nucleus. This is the nucleus which is common again in every cell. Number 3, this space, just imagine this is a watery substance. This is a watery substance. This is known as cytoplasm. The blank thing, this is the cytoplasm. It is common in every cell. Now we'll be talking about in detailing all the structure and function individually of the cells. This is the animal cell. This is the plant cell. So first of all, we'll be talking about the plasma membrane. See, this is plasma membrane. This is plasma membrane. Plasma membrane, see here you can see my finger, this is plasma membrane, the outer covering. Plasma membrane is the outermost covering of the cell which separates the cell from its external surrounding. Plasma membrane, this has small minute pores on it. It is all filled with the small minute pores. You can just make up in your mind that for example, like a ball, the cover of the ball has a small minute pores. So likewise, plasma membrane has the small minute pores which allows the flow of materials, substances to and fro inside the cell and comes out of the cell. But it selects the material which has to go inside and which one has to come out of the cell. That is why the plasma membrane is also known as selective permeable membrane, because it selects the material to be taken inside and the material which has to goes out. Next, the plasma membrane, the gases like carbon dioxide and oxygen can also move in and out of the plasma membrane. And the process by which carbon dioxide and oxygen moves inside and comes off the plasma membrane is known as diffusion. Now what is diffusion? Diffusion is the process by which substances like carbon dioxide and oxygen moves from a higher concentration to a lower concentration. For example, try to understand this. Like the cell has carbon dioxide inside it as a waste product. You know that carbon dioxide is being released inside the cell. You will study it in the higher classes. Carbon dioxide is being released inside the cell, and you all know that carbon dioxide is a waste product in our body. We don't require carbon dioxide, so we breathe it out. So when the concentration or when the amount of carbon dioxide is more inside the cell and less carbon dioxide is less outside the cell, this carbon dioxide will flow from a higher concentration to a lower concentration, which means the carbon dioxide goes out of the cell because it doesn't require the carbon dioxide. It's a waste for the cell. Now likewise, cell requires oxygen, isn't it? So if the amount of oxygen is less inside the cell and the amount of oxygen is more outside the cell, what will happen? The oxygen will move from a higher to lower concentration. Here the concentration of the oxygen is more and here it is less. Clear, students? Now likewise, even the water also can move inside the cell and come out of the cell through a process known as osmosis. Water also moves from a higher concentration to a lower concentration. Next, the structure and function of the plasma membrane is over. Now we'll talk about the second important feature, that is the nucleus. See, you can see nucleus. The nucleus is present inside the cell. It is a double layered membrane. You can see it very clearly. It is a double layered membrane. Like plasma membrane, it also has small minute pores so that the material from the inside the nucleus can go out Which space is this? This is cytoplasm. This is a watery fluid. So the materials can move from the nucleus and into the cytoplasm and vice versa. Okay. This nucleus consists of chromosomes. You have already studied it in the class 8. Nucleus has the chromosome. Chromosome carries the information and passes it out to one generation to another. Students, you all know that we looks like our parents. This is just because our parents' chromosome, the chromosome of both of our parents, carries the information from them. For example, the height, the health, the color of the skin, the texture and color of the hair, the color of the eyeball, everything, it is being carried. All these informations are being carried from our parents to us. Which means chromosome is the unit which transferred or which carries the information from our ancestors to the next generation. That is why human being looks like human being and the animals look like the animals. Then now this chromosome, it is made up of DNA and protein. The functional unit of chromosome is known as DNA. The functional unit of chromosome is known as DNA. Now, this nucleus, it plays an important role in the cellular reproduction. Students, depending upon the membrane, nuclear membrane, depending upon the nuclear membrane of the cell, the organisms are again classified into two groups. First is the prokaryotic organism and the other is the eukaryotic organism. Now, what is prokaryotic organism? Those organisms which do not have the well-defined nuclear membrane, the organisms which do not have the well-defined membrane in their cell is known as prokaryotic organism. For example, bacteria. Bacteria, students, doesn't have the well-defined nuclear membrane. Their chromosomes and all just lie there haphazardly. On the other hand, the organisms whose cell consists of a well-defined nuclear membrane is known as eukaryotic organism. I repeat, those organisms which has a well-defined nuclear membrane in their cell are known as eukaryotic organisms. Now we'll talk about the third feature which is common in every cell, that is the cytoplasm, the space here. Cytoplasm, students, this is a watery or the fluid-like substance which is present inside the cell. You just imagine, if you imagine the raw egg, you can imagine the raw egg. The raw egg has a yolk inside this center and the albumin outside. The color of the yolk is yellow. You can compare the yolk as the nucleus and the white portion, the albumin portion, is a watery like substance. Just imagine, just compare in that way. Just compare the cytoplasm in that way. The yolk portion, sorry, the albumin portion, the watery portion of the egg. This is the cytoplasm. And students, all the cell organelles, this I already told you, cell organelle means the structure of the cell. All the cell organelles are present or embedded or situated, located in this cytoplasm. Clear? Now we'll talk about the other cell organelles. I'm unable to hold this straight for a long time, so I just wanted to, I hope you can see it clearly. Next we'll be talking about the endoplasmic reticulum. See, this is the endoplasmic reticulum. Students, this is the large network of tubular and structure of tubules and the sheets. This is a large network of membrane bound tubes and sheets. I again repeat, this is a large network of membrane bound tubes and sheets. Now, there are two types of endoplasmic reticulum. Number one is the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Here you can see. Number two is the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Now, rough endoplasmic reticulum is named because of the presence of, these small granules. The small granules are known as ribosomes. And the smooth endoplasmic reticulum doesn't have these ribosomes on it. That is why it is smooth. It is rough in structure. Hence, it is named as rough endoplasmic reticulum. Now, students, just listen carefully. These ribosomes, these small granules, this is the site of protein synthesis. I repeat, the ribosomes present on the endoplasmic reticulum is the site of protein synthesis. Next, the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, it helps in the synthesis of fats and lipids. I repeat, students, smooth endoplasmic reticulum helps in the synthesis of fats and lipids. Side by side, the smooth endoplasmic reticulum also helps in detoxifying the poisonous substance and the drugs present inside the liver cell. Clear? We'll talk about the Golgi apparatus. Somebody pronounce it as Golgi. I pronounce it Golgi, whatever you feel like. The Golgi apparatus. See, this round thing is Golgi apparatus. So, this Golgi apparatus is a membrane-bound vesicle. This is a membrane-bound vesicle. It is situated attached to the membrane of the endoplasmic reticulum. See, this attached to the endoplasmic reticulum. Its main function is the storage, the packaging and modification of the material. I repeat, its function is the packaging, storing and modification of the material secreted or synthesis by the endoplasmic reticulum. This is attached to the endoplasmic reticulum. The materials which is synthesis by the endoplasmic reticulum is being stored, is being modified and is being packing by the Golgi apparatus. The second function of Golgi apparatus is that it helps in the formation of the lysosome. See, this is lysosome. The Golgi apparatus helps in the formation of the lysosome. This is lysosome. Okay. Now, we'll talk about what is lysosome. Students, this is lysosome. This is a sac-like structure. Sac in Hindi we call as थैली जैसा ना, एक खाली थैले जैसा. It's a sac-like structure. It is membrane bound. This lysosome is also known as the suicidal bags of the cell. Okay, I'll tell you why we call it as a suicidal bag of the cell also. Now, this lysosome is the site for waste disposal of the cell. I repeat, lysosome is the site for waste disposal of the cell because it keeps the cell clean, thereby digesting all the foreign substances, all the dead and worn out cells. So, it keeps the cell clean. It digests the dead and the foreign substances with the help of powerful enzyme present inside it. Sometimes, students, what happen, you know, when this lysosome bursts, this powerful enzyme, it comes out and digests its own healthy cells and leading to the death of the lysosome. Now, that is why it is also known as the suicidal bag of the cell. Clear, students? Next, we'll move to the mitochondria. See, this is a mitochondria, big thing. This is mitochondria, this is mitochondria. Okay. This is mitochondria. Mitochondria is also known as the powerhouse of the cell. Are you aware of the word powerhouse? You know that powerhouse is something related to which supplies us the power. You all know that we have a big powerhouse called Surya Chakra there. One more powerhouse at Chatham which provide us the power, the electricity supply throughout, 24 hours. So, it keeps on continuously providing us the power, the energy. That is why they are known as powerhouse. Likewise, mitochondria is also known as the powerhouse because all the cellular activities, all the chemical activities, the energy required for the performing the chemical activities of the cell is provided by the mitochondria in the form of ATP. ATP is nothing but adenosine triphosphate. I repeat again, the energy required for the chemical activities of the cell, all the activities of the cell, it is derived from the mitochondria in the form of ATP. Hence, students, ATP is the energy currency of the cell. ATP is also known as the energy currency of the cell. And this mitochondria, you can see it has a double fold. It has a double fold, this one and this one. The inner one is a bit folding. You can see it as a, inside the intestine, a villi, finger-like projection. This is highly folded structure. This highly folded structure provides a large surface area for the synthesis of ATP, means for the synthesis of energy. And the living organism, to perform their life processes, to perform all the activities, they derive the energy from the mitochondria in the form of ATP. Mitochondria, it has its own DNA and ribosome. It's very special. It has its own DNA and ribosome. That is why it can synthesize its own protein. Next, we'll talk about the plastids. Students, this is plastids. This is present in the plant cell. Plastids, I repeat, is present only in the plant cell. This is not found in the animal cell. Plastids are not found in the animal cell. Plastids are of two types. One is the chromoplast and other is the leucoplast. Students, chromoplast is the colored or the colorful plastids and leucoplast is the colorless or the white plastids. Plastids also have green pigment chlorophyll known as chloroplast. You might be aware of this word chloroplast. Chloroplast is very important because it has chlorophyll and it is very important for the process of photosynthesis. What is photosynthesis? Photosynthesis is the process of making food by the plants, by all the plants. You know that plants can synthesize their own food. So plastids are present only in the plant cell. Now talking about the function of the leucoplast. Leucoplast helps in the storage of oils, starch and proteins. So leucoplast present inside the plastids. It's a one kind of plastid. It helps in the storage of starch, oil and proteins. Students, I forgot to tell you one more thing when I was talking about this plasma membrane. I forgot to tell you one important thing, that is the cell membrane. See, this is the cell wall. This is cell wall. I remember just now, I just wanted to tell you right now. See, you can say this is animal cell, this is plant cell. Plant cell have only single layered, animal cell have the double layered. The outer one, the green one, is known as the cell wall. Students, cell wall is present only in the plant cell. This is the cell wall. It is found outer to the plasma membrane. This is plasma membrane or cell membrane. This is cell wall. And cell wall is a rigid structure. It is made up of cellulose and it is found only in animal cell. Now coming back to the plastids. The function and structure of plastids is over. Now we'll talk about the last cell organelle, that is the vacuoles. This vacuole is the storage sac of solids and liquids in the cell. I repeat, storage sac of liquids and solid contents in the cell. Vacuoles are small in the animal cell and this is the vacuole. This is so big. Vacuoles are very big in the plant cell. The vacuoles inside the plant cells are filled with cell saps. This vacuole, the plant use this in the storage of amino acid, sugar and proteins. Students, I'll just tell you in a very quick this thing. There are difference between the plant cell and animal cell. See, plant cells have the plastids which the animal cells do not have. The vacuoles of the animal cell is smaller and the vacuoles of the plant cell is very big. Now, I have, with the help of this diagram, I have make you clear about all the cell organelles, the structure and function. Now, I just wanted to tell you that all the cell organelles, they perform their own function individually. showing a division of labor. Some helps in the process of respiration, some helps in the process of excretion, some helps in the process of manufacturing of new products like ATP, energy. Because of that, the organisms are able to survive. Now we can very well conclude and say that yes, cell is the fundamental unit of life. Cell is the fundamental unit of life. As we human being, we perform several functions with the help of various organs. Likewise, a cell is also consisting of various cell organelles which perform their function at their own level, making it to survive. Hence, we can say that the cell is the fundamental, the structural and the functional unit of life. I repeat, cell is the fundamental, structural and functional unit of life. I hope students, you might have understand about this cell. Now you will study it in a very elaborate way in class 11th. I wish you stay at home, stay healthy and stay safe. Thank you.